Alexandra Levine welcomes you to the Alexandra Levine Live Podcast. Today, we've got a packed show, from breaking news to informative topics that will keep you well informed. So, please click the subscribe button to get notified of her upcoming episodes. If you like what Alexandra talks about, then please share the Alexandra Levine Live to others. Alexandra also looks forward to your comments during this episode. Tonight's Alexandra Levine Live Podcast starts now.
Well, hello, everyone. Hello, this is Alexandra Levine live with the America's Pulse Network. We are all in tonight with me, Alexandra Levine. As you know, underway voting started all day in Virginia today about the amendments. As you know, Barack Hussein Obama came to the state of Virginia with Governor Wes Moore of Maryland to push this redistricting amendment. I beg the people of Virginia to vote no. Vote no for redistricting. If you vote yes, what it will do is it will Democrats, Republicans will have no power in the state of Virginia. So if you are Virginian listening to me tonight and you are at the voting booth, please vote no for the redistricting. Of course, we have two breaking newses before we go into our special guest. Let's put up the first image. So this is actually going to tie into our special guest. So my good friend, David Harris Jr., who's on Newsmax, he said, breaking, newly elected Hungarian prime minister announces Prime Minister of Israel Netanyahu will be arrested if he enters Hungary. He said that recently in a press conference. My special guest will delve into that, but that is breaking news. And then this is our second breaking news, second image. So Ursula openly admitted that withholding EU funds from the Orban government had an impact on the elections. She emphasized that a total of 17 billion euros had been frozen, which is a huge amount for an economy the size of Hungary. She added that the missing EU funds were also reflected in the further deterioration of the country's competitiveness, which was ultimately confirmed by the voters in the polling booths. Meanwhile, even Mungar Peter admitted it several times in 2024, as the Orban government has stated on countless occasions that the Hungarian government had fulfilled the reforms requested by the EU Commission. Yet Ursula still did not hand over the EU funds to the Orban government. This is a serious interference in the elections and an abuse of power. And we will get into that later in this show. But we have a special guest and another exclusive international interview with my good friend, Tamir Wertzberger, who is the author of The Gatekeeper of Europe. We are so happy to have him on my program today. Thank you so much for coming on, Tamir.
Hi, Alexandra. Thank you for inviting me.
So, Tamir, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
So I was born and raised in Israel, in a small village in North Israel. I moved to Hungary almost 9 years ago. I'm working as a Foreign Affairs Director of Action and Protection League, which is a European organization that combating anti-Semitism. I'm holding many years of experience in politics, European politics, mainly according my work for the International Department of Likud Party since 2015, and the book, of course, I just published my book, The Gatekeeper of Europe, about exactly this topic, about Hungary.
So you were born in Israel. What year did you come to Budapest, and do you have dual citizenship?
So first of all, yes, I have dual citizenship, or as I like to say, I had the privilege in my lifetime to vote both for Benjamin Netanyahu and Viktor Orban. Well, I'm coming from a Hungarian family. My grandparents, all of them were Holocaust survivors from Hungary, and what we call the territories that were taken from Hungary after the First World War, mainly Transylvania. My mom was born there. Hungarian was her mother tongue, her native language. So Hungary always was around my childhood, my family. Either the language that my parents used to speak with my grandparents. The food that my grandmother used to cook was very traditional Hungarian food, and Hungary always had a special room in my heart. It was a long process. I came to Budapest for the first time in 2012 by a seminar of the Jewish Agency. I fell in love with the place, and back then anti-Semitism was really bad. So in some way, I even felt some sense of mission to come here and to strengthen the Jewish community and to fight anti-Semitism. And actually, this is what I'm doing today for my living.
So elaborate more on the Action and Protection League, and are you the only country that has something like this?
Well, there are many countries who has some organizations that doing many that are focusing monitoring. But yes, Hungary is actually the only country which has a professional organization that combating anti-Semitism with operative tools. It means we have an actual tools to combat anti-Semitism. It's education programs, and it's a very progress monitoring system that we developed, which allows us not only to monitor anti-Semitism with the traditional sources, which are mainly the open sources, the police reports or what the authorities has, but we developed a system that allows us to find hate speech and anti-Semitism in social media as well. So this is something very, very unique. And yes, I'm a foreign affairs director. I'm leading the office in Brussels, and I'm working in the European Parliament and the European institutions. So I think what's really special about this organization and Hungary is that this organization got a very big support from the Hungarian government from the first moment.
Well, I can tell you, when I was in Hungary, they did not have any pro-Hamas protests, any free Palestine stuff going on. And when I spoke to Martanya Grozdi, he said they don't allow it in the country. They don't allow any hate speech or any anti-Semitism. And me as a Jew, and you're Jewish too, I feel very safe being in your country. Do you feel the same?
I absolutely feel the same. I will tell you more than that, Alexandra. I remember Hungary in 2012 and even before. Hungary was in a very bad position regarding anti-Semitism. In every international index and report, Hungary was appeared as the most concerning case regarding the rising of anti-Semitism. So to remember about the situation here 1.5 decades ago, and to see what we have now, how Hungary become the safest place for Jews in Europe. The main reason is Viktor Orban and the Hungarian government that took it as a national task to fight anti-Semitism and to make the Jewish life much safer. People usually talking about the obvious things, like you mentioned the pro-Hamas demonstrations that they didn't let them do it here, or the veto in the European Parliament, or not the European Parliament, but the European Council, the Council of the European Union, where Hungary veto any anti-Israeli resolution. It's much more than that. You see how Viktor Orban sees that the Jewish heritage and the Jewish culture as unseparated part of the Hungarian collective and the Hungarian story. And for many years, the Hungarian government invested fortune in renovation and reconstruction and of Jewish synagogues and institutions and cemeteries. I have ancestors in the Jewish cemetery in one of the villages in North Hungary, and I remember when I came there for the first time, it was like a jungle. You barely could find the gravestones. But now when you will go there, it's clean. It's very friendly, and you can see that the authorities invested in this place in order to respect not only the Jews who are living today in Hungary, but also those who lived here for centuries and contributed for this country.
That's beautiful to hear. So, Tamir, how did you get involved with the politics in Hungary, or what made you interested in the politics in Hungary?
Well, I always was interested in politics in general, mainly in Israel when I lived in Israel. But I got involved with international activity in 2015 when I joined the international team of the Likud party back then, together with the one who was the foreign affairs director of the Likud party and now is the Israeli ambassador to Singapore, and my dear friend Eli Wertzberger. I actually joined him in 2015. We started here in Budapest in a delegation that actually I was the one who initiated it together with the Jewish community here. They invited us. We came here for the first Likud delegation since decades. And this is how I started my international activity. I had the privilege to be a Likud representative in few international organizations, including the European Democratic Students, which is the biggest student organization in Europe. Also in the European Young Conservatives, which belongs to the Conservatives and Reformist group in the European Parliament, and the International Young Democratic Union, which in these two organizations, I also served as the vice chairman for 1 year between 2016 to 2017 when I still was young. So, as I said, Hungary always was very important for me. I always had a very deep sentiment to Hungary, so that it was a question of time when I will move here and will apply my activity from the place that I loved and was connected since I'm a child.
So, Tamir, what was your inspiration to writing your book?
So, what was my inspiration? I will not call it an inspiration. I will call it a trigger. In 2023, when the Israeli government tried to do a judicial reform, we saw a very aggressive demonstrations by the liberals in Israel against the judicial reform. And one of their arguments were that we should not become Hungary, that Netanyahu wants to make Israel a dictatorship like Hungary. Iran and Hungary were very presented in the Israeli public discussion in a very bad context. And I live here, and I already was aware to the Hungarian politics, and I saw the gap between the way Hungary and Viktor Orban presented in Israel to the reality. And first of all, it was even a matter of some appreciation and gratefulness for Viktor Orban for what he did for the Jewish community and for Israel as well. And I felt the obligation to write down all what I know about Hungary and to make my own research in order to bring the Israeli public, and not only to the Israeli public, but to everybody around the world, to give them some different perspective about Hungary and some different angle from what they used to hear from the liberal media.
I think that's fabulous. I really do. And as you know, you just went through an election cycle. Everybody thought, especially in America, that Viktor Orban would win re-election, including myself, my network. We heavily endorsed him. As you know, President Trump heavily endorsed him. J.D. Vance came to Hungary April 7th and 8th, just a few days before the election, April 12th. But for some reason, either the people had a different agenda or somebody had a different agenda there, because Orban was the prime minister for 16 years. So from your perspective, how do you feel about the elections? Are you hopeful for this new prime minister? Are you nervous about this new prime minister?
First of all, I have to admit that I was sure that Orban will win after all as well. This was my assumption as well. And I will tell you also why I thought that Viktor Orban will win. Because from my perspective, and I've been here in many conferences and events by Fidesz. Fidesz is Orban's party, including the CPAC conference, which took place just a month ago. including JD Vance's visit here a week before the elections. I was there as well, and including the demonstration, the big pro-peace demonstration by Fidesz in March 15. I was there, and even more than that, and my impression was that Fidesz is still very, very strong, mainly in the countryside. Budapest always was liberal. It's not a surprise that Fidesz lost Budapest, but in the countryside, Fidesz always was very strong. That the reason why Orban lost after all. By the way, I say that he lost the elections, but what I call Orban doctrine absolutely won. But we can talk about it later. But the reason why he lost after all combined by two main elements. First of all, a very large turnout. The turnout in these elections was 79%. It's a lot. It's really a lot, and this was the game changer. Second of all, there is a young generation, people who were born around the 90s, the middle 90s. They know nothing but Fidesz and Viktor Orban in power. So these people, which are missing the history context, they believe that it can be better. So this is why it was much easier for them to choose someone who is younger, and they could feel more related to him, or that he's speaking in their language, or in to and yes, that these two elements were the main elements that led to these results. And we also have to remember that differently than other elections in Hungary, this time we had pretty much only two parties that competed in this election system. We have Fidesz, of course, and we saw the TISA party, the opposition party, that managed to bring all the opposition supporters behind them. So if you're doing some analysis of the numbers, Fidesz still have 2.33 million voters in this election. It's a lot. It's really a lot. If you will have normal turnout next elections with this kind of number, Fidesz should win the elections. But yes, the Fidesz still have strong base. On the other side, we see that Peter Magyar and TISA, they got around 3.4 million, I think. But out of this 3.4, 2 million people are people that never voted for Fidesz. They just saw him as a tool to take down Orban, and this was the reason why.
Unbelievable. Now, there's some reports coming out on social media and so forth. 1 minute your prime minister-elect sounds like he's more conservative than Orban. He stated that he's going to even continue building the wall and make it very hard for illegals to come into your country. But then on the other side, he is pressing to get rid of the president of Hungary. And then the other day, he had a press conference with the Prime Minister of Canada, and a question was asked about the ICC, and your Prime Minister-elect said that he would adhere to the rules of the ICC, meaning arresting Prime Minister of Israel Netanyahu if he came to visit Hungary. Now, why would he say that? There's so many Israelis that live in Hungary. There's a lot of Israelis that have dual citizenship, that are snowbirds and own businesses in Hungary. What would compel the new prime minister to say that? Because as we know, Viktor Orban and Netanyahu had such a strong alliance. What does this do for the Israelis that like to come visit Hungary? Are they going to not visit Hungary because of what this prime minister-elect said?
Well, I will tell you the truth. On that point, I'm trying not to get too excited by what he says. I always say that we should wait, because we must remember that we are only 1 week after the elections. The new administration has not come into effect yet, so they didn't get the power yet. so they can still talk. Why he did it? I will tell you the truth. In my opinion, during the election campaign, he tried to say nothing controversial because his supporters came mainly from the left and some from the right that he managed to take from Fidesz. He tried to avoid any controversial statement before the elections. My feeling is, or my impression now, is that after he got elected, he's trying to satisfy everybody. So at the beginning, he invited Netanyahu, and yesterday, as you mentioned, he said that he wants to come back to the ICC, and it means that he will arrest Netanyahu. I didn't celebrate when he invited Netanyahu, and I'm not running to conclusions when he said yesterday that he will arrest Netanyahu if he will come from one main reason. What he sees now not necessarily will be the same when he will get into the prime minister office and will realize how deep the relations with Israel and how much Hungary rely on Israeli technology and security, mainly regarding the fence, the wall that you talked about. I remember in 2015 when Hungary stopped the immigrants and built the wall. I remember that back then it was reported, it's published, you can see it everywhere, that Israel helped Hungary a lot with equipment, with experience, with technology. So I think when he will get into the office and will realize how much he rely on Israel, maybe he will speak differently. But this is why I say we should wait. We should wait because we need to examine him according what he is doing and not what he's saying now.
I think what was scary to a lot of people is George Soros, backed him and said, thank God he's the new prime minister. Obama, Biden, they all praised him. It was mostly the socialists and the far left. And then, of course, the EU, Commissioner Ursula, she is like in love with him. She's thinking that he's going to work with her and that he's going to sign off on the $90 billion that she wants to give to Ukraine to help fund Ukraine and give Ukraine more arms. Do you agree with that?
Well, I have a deep problem with the European Union or the way the European Union is operated now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's related to the very core question of why we are talking about Hungary from the first place. What is so special about Hungary, and why Hungary becomes so important country that J.D. Vance is coming here and Putin cares about what's going on here, and the European Union is so involved in what's going on here. So I think that this is the main question and that the main issue that we must all understand regarding Hungary. How comes that a small country in Central Europe with 10 million people, which is absolutely not a powerful country, not militarily, not economically, how comes that this country becomes so important and getting so much attention? And the reason is because you have one main conflict today around the world. Let's say it in this way. I'm trying to be very careful with my words. I don't want to say a war, but we have a very big conflict globally between two main forces. One is the conservative patriotic forces, and the other one is the progressive liberals.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're looking on these two groups, we have in one side the sovereignty camp, and the other side we have the globalists. So when we're looking on the European Union, when we're doing zoom into the European Union, we see how the European Union for the last decade become kind of supranational platform with satellite countries and central power from Brussels. And in some way, when you look at it deeply, it looks more and more not like the European Union, but more like the Soviet Union. This is exactly how they operated. There was the central power in Moscow and satellite countries. And this is exactly what the European Union is trying to do now. The European Union started as a framework to promote cooperation mainly on economic and economy and trade and industry. But the last few decades they shifted it to a very different place, and Viktor Orban was the only one who stood against it and fought for the sovereignty and the conservative values against this trend, this efforts of the Brussels bureaucrats to apply their power on the member states.
You're 100% correct. Now, we touched on this a little bit earlier, but when I was in Hungary, I was involved with the Jewish lifestyle there. I went to the Chabad of Budapest, which is a huge Chabad. Oh my God, the Friday night was just insane with so many people from all different parts of the country and the world, which is amazing. But you're there every day. So explain to my audience, that I have a lot of Jewish people that watch my program. Explain to my Jewish audience Jewish life in Hungary.
Well, I don't know how Jewish lives are in different places. I can tell you that, I think that the last 2.5 years during the war in Gaza emphasized the best how the life in Budapest, how is the life in Budapest for Jews. And I remember when October 7th just happened, that support for Israel is not by the veto in the European Union and not only by the good relations with Netanyahu. The support for Israel, came in many other ways and directions. I remember I'm working in the European Parliament. I'm working very, very closely with the Fidesz delegation to the European Parliament, with the commissioner, the Hungarian commissioner, Oliver Varhely, who is amazing guy and great supporter of Israel and the Jewish people. And 2 days after October 7th, the commissioner Varhely, back then he was the commissioner for neighboring countries, he announced 2 days after that he will suspend the fundings to the Palestinian Authority because of the anti-Semitism and incitement for violence in the Palestinian textbook, the education system, and also because of the funding and the salaries of the Palestinian Authority to the prisoners in the Israeli jail, terrorists. And he did it. It was the third time when he tried to do that, and he did it for a while, and then the foreign affairs of the European Union, it was Joseph Borrell back then. He just flipped it and refreezed the fundings, and I saw it also with Fidesz delegation. So for me to live as a Jew in Hungary is a feeling of equal citizen who can live and practice his religion freely. I'm going to the synagogue every Friday evening, every Saturday morning. You can see Jews are walking in the street with no fear and no shame, and you see it with people with very Orthodox costume. We have here in North Hungary the site of Reb Shayale from Kerestir. He was a very big rabbi, very known and very very important in the Hasidic world. By the way, just yesterday or 2 days ago, it was his Yoitzai. This is the day of his passing, and many Orthodox Jews are coming here. Thousands and tens of thousands of Orthodox Jews, Hasidic, are coming here every year, and you never hear a problem. You never hear about incitements or incidents. And this is Hungary. This is how to be a Jew in Hungary, is to live your life as you want, without any fear.
I love it. It's a great motto. It's a phenomenal motto. We just have a couple more questions. So this is a big one. Do you believe Hungary is going to stay capitalist in your mind, even with the new leadership coming in? Or, God forbid, do you believe it's going to go back to socialism?
Well, again, this is a question that we will have to examine the moment that the government will come into effect and will start to work. They have all the mandatory to do whatever they want, pretty much. So we will judge them according what they will do. I want to believe that Péter Magyar, the new elected prime minister, he's after all a conservative who came from a conservative family, and he grew up in Fidesz under Orban supervision. So I don't think that his positions, his ideology is far away from Fidesz and Viktor Orban. But we will see. Again, this is something we can know only when the government will start to work.
And why do you want people to read your book, and what knowledge can people gain from reading your book?
So first of all, I will say a few words about my book. My book is actually, it's about Hungary, but I'm taking Hungary as a case study, because from the understanding that we have a worldwide phenomenon when the liberals, the progressive liberals, and the conservative patriots are fighting and clashing pretty much everywhere on the globe. From South America and Brazil, we see what is happening with Bolsonaro, and even in the United States, we saw what happened with Trump after he got lost the elections to Biden, and the persecution against him. We see it in France with Marine Le Pen as well, how the institutions persecuting the political opponents. We see it in Israel as well. We see it everywhere around the world. And Hungary is so special, and I think it's connected to what I talked before. Hungary is so special because in Hungary, Viktor Orban managed to build a conservative patriotic stronghold, and he managed to defeat the left, the progressive liberals, not only in the elections, not only in the polls, but mainly intellectually and institutionally. And this is what I'm writing about. This is what my book is about. It's about Orban's doctrine, what he did in Hungary, how he did it, on which historical and ideological background his policy based on, and how it's all narrowed to the conflict with the European Union on the European identity and on the European structure. So again, this is a case study. It's not only to learn about Hungary, but it's also to learn about your own countries and your own conflict, because some of the feedbacks that I'm getting from Israel is that many people who were reading the book, they felt that they are reading about their own political situation. And that was my main goal, that people will read it everywhere, will see that the connection between what happened in Hungary and what is happening in their countries, and they might take some ideas or some tools from what Viktor Orban did here, as the only country where he actually managed to do that, to defeat the left. And I will say something that I said that I will mention it earlier, that Viktor Orban lost the election, but Orban's doctrine won. And when you see the results, you see how the successor of Viktor Orban is someone who came from his party, from his let's go ideological greenhouse, and the left parties totally disappeared from the political spectrum of Hungary. So now in the Hungarian parliament, you have only three parties. All of them are pretty much right wing. So you have soft right, soft conservative, hard conservatives and far right, which is Mihazang. This is another story. This is a very controversial party, but very far right. So this is the Hungarian politics today. And Viktor Orban started his political career 40 years ago in order to fight the communist regime, in order to clean up the Hungarian state, the Hungarian institution from any communist influence, and he managed to complete it 40 years later in the elections that he actually lost.
Well, see, that makes me feel good, and that makes a lot of people feel good, and it makes me want to come to your country again. And I will definitely be there for CPAC Hungary because I missed it this last time. But I love your country, and I've spoken so well of your country. But the things that you're saying are very enlightening to me. And like I said, I pray and I hope with the new prime minister coming in that he will follow in Viktor Orban's footsteps, or he will continue Viktor Orban's legacy. That's what we all hope for. That's what we all pray for.
Absolutely. Because, you can agree or disagree with things that the previous government did, which is okay. This is part of the political game. Political game and democracy must contain and to show tolerance to different opinions. But I think when you see Hungary today, and to those who knows what happened here before, especially before the transition to a democratic regime, but even the first 20 years, people who knows what happened back then, they know to appreciate what Viktor Orban did here for the last 16 years.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for being on our program. I love it. I love your book. And we have the link. We will be sending out the QR code to everybody for them to order your book. And I understand it's in Hebrew, Hungarian, and you're working on getting it translated in English. Is that correct?
That's correct. Hopefully soon.
That'd be great. Our exclusive interview with Tamir Wertzberger, author of The Gatekeeper of Europe. Thank you so much. And I just want to say Yom HaZikaron, and then we celebrate Yom HaAtzmaut in a couple of days, which is Israel's Independence Day.
Yes, today.
Yeah, it's today. Well, yeah, it's today. You're right. Over there, where you are, it's today.
Yeah, well, where I am, it's today. For you, you have more few hours.
Yeah, so hopefully everybody is celebrating Yom HaAtzmaut all over the country and the world. Thank you so much for being on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Alexandra. Thank you.
And that's it for us tonight, Alexandra Levine Live. You can like and subscribe us at all of the regular stations such as Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and so forth. Thank you guys for watching. And the reason you listen and the reason you watch is you are no idiot.
Alexandra, thanks you for watching tonight's Alexandra Levine Live podcast. See you at the next packed show, from breaking news to informative topics that will keep you informed. So please click the subscribe button to get notified for upcoming episodes. If you like what the Alexandra talks about, then share the Alexandra Levine Live podcast with others. Alexandra also looks forward to seeing you in the next upcoming episode.